The battlefields of World War II were not only defined by tanks, rifles and artillery. For many soldiers, the greatest enemy was, well, the cold. On the Russian front, temperatures plunged well below zero. In the Ardennes, men fought not only against German forces, but against frostbite. Even in mountain campaigns across Italy and the Balkans, soldiers faced freezing winds and icy soil. The official histories often describe battles and strategies, yet behind those accounts lies a quieter struggle, the desperate nightly attempt to survive the frozen ground long enough to fight another day. Within the opening minute of exploring these forgotten stories, one begins to grasp the scale of the challenge. Thousands of soldiers carried no more than a thin blanket or a wool coat, yet they were expected to sleep on snow or ice for weeks at a time. Fires were too dangerous at night, bedding was scarce, and movement could not be guaranteed. To survive, men turned to resourcefulness. Many of the techniques they used never appeared in civilian survival guides. They were shared among soldiers in whispers, adapted from peasant traditions, or rediscovered from older wars. These sleeping hacks, practical, strange, and sometimes counterintuitive, became lifelines in the frozen landscapes of the 1940s. Though the frozen earth appeared hostile, soldiers learned to use it as a shield. By digging shallow pits or foxholes and lining them with branches or brush, men created a buffer against the biting wind. Beneath the surface, the soil retained a more stable temperature than the open air. In diaries from both German and Soviet troops on the Eastern Front, references to sleeping pits appear repeatedly. They were not comfortable, but they turned the relentless wind into something survivable. Where permafrost prevented digging, soldiers sometimes piled snow into walls around their resting spots, blocking gusts and creating a crude form of shelter. Across the occupied farmlands, soldiers quickly discovered what peasants had known for centuries: straw and dried grasses made for, well, really effective insulation. Barns and haystacks were raided not just for food, but also for bedding. A thick layer of straw placed beneath a soldier's body reduced direct contact with the icy soil, trapping those precious pockets of warm air. Letters from American troops in France, recall sleeping in barns and describing the comfort of hay compared to the bare ground. Though straw often carried lice or pests, the men accepted the risk, knowing it meant warmth through the night. One of the more unusual methods involved using dampened canvas or tarpaulins as coverings. When these were layered over blankets or coats, the outer fabric would freeze into a stiff crust, creating a barrier against the wind. The concept was simple, really. Let the outside freeze while the inside retained warmth. Veterans of the Battle of the Bulge, recalled lying beneath such improvised shells. It was uncomfortable, but it kept the cold air from penetrating, turning a sheet of canvas into a shield against the winter sky. Since open flames at night risked exposing positions, soldiers often carried heat with them in the form of warmed stones. During cooking, they placed stones near fires, then wrapped them in cloth and tucked them into coats or bedding. In bitter cold, survival was often collective. Soldiers huddled together beneath shared blankets or greatcoats, conserving body heat in small groups. To prevent complete exposure, they often rotated positions, 2 men sleeping while one remained awake to adjust coverings or watch for danger. After an hour or two, roles reversed. This system ensured both vigilance and warmth, creating a rhythm that allowed entire squads to endure nights that would have been fatal in isolation. The principle was simple yet effective. Human warmth was as valuable as any supply. It may seem counterintuitive, but snow itself became a form of insulation. Digging shallow caves or covering themselves with snow, soldiers discovered that inside these shelters the temperature remained steadier than in the open. Diaries from Soviet troops often mentioned snowbeds, where men buried themselves with only their faces exposed. Though risky, this technique mirrored methods used for centuries by Arctic peoples. In the desperate winters of World War II, snow ceased to be only an enemy. It became a reluctant ally. One of the most vital hacks was preserving boots through the night. If left outside blankets, boots froze stiff, impossible to put on quickly in the morning. Soldiers learned to keep them inside bedding, even though it meant enduring the discomfort of mud and dampness. This practice, recalled by countless veterans, saved men from frostbite and kept units mobile at dawn. A frozen boot could cripple a soldier as effectively as a wound. Protecting footwear was as critical as guarding a weapon. Scarcity forced soldiers into constant improvisation. Captured enemy greatcoats, horse blankets, or even torn parachutes were refashioned into sleeping gear. Parachute silk, particularly, was prized for lining foxholes, blocking wind and retaining warmth. Sandbags stuffed with leaves or straw became makeshift mattresses. Beyond physical tricks, soldiers also employed psychological strategies. Some trained themselves to fall asleep quickly despite the discomfort, regulating breathing to conserve energy. Others relied on storytelling, songs, or even silent prayers to distract from the cold until sleep came. Officers often encouraged rituals before resting, knowing that morale could blunt the harshness of reality. In conditions where frostbite and exhaustion threatened to break men's will, the mind became as important a weapon as any coat or blanket. The frozen ground of World War II claimed thousands of lives, yet countless others survived through ingenuity. These 9 sleeping hacks, digging into earth, insulating with straw, creating frozen shields, heating stones, sharing warmth, burying in snow, protecting boots, improvising bedrolls, and mastering mental endurance, represent the quiet battle fought each night. They rarely appear in official histories, but they were as vital as rifles or rations. For today's observer, they reveal a deeper truth about survival, that resilience is not only a matter of strength, but of adaptation. In the silence of winter nights, far from the noise of artillery, these humble hacks carried soldiers through conditions few civilians could imagine. Remembering them honours not only the battles fought, but the endurance of the men who faced the cold with resourcefulness and determination. If you found this exploration into forgotten soldier survival valuable, subscribe to In the Beginning for more documentary-style journeys into the hidden history of endurance. Share this with others who value the ingenuity of the past and help keep alive the lessons forged in one of the harshest chapters of human history.